Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into the work of Dr. Keith Newton.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Newton. Now, this is an interesting one.
Yeah, he's really making waves where AI and accessibility meet.
Right.
And we've got quite a bit to dig into here.
Yeah, we do.
A whole stack of his articles on LinkedIn, his resume,
Hmm.
even a snippet of a song.
A song.
Yeah, well, let's just say Dr. Newton's career path is anything but ordinary.
Well, that's what makes these deep dives so fun, right?
Exactly. You never know what you're going to find.
Yeah. So what's got you so interested in Dr. Newton's work then? What stuck out?
It's just so fascinating how he's not just talking about, like making AI accessible to people.
Hmm.
He's actually using AI to improve accessibility itself.
Yeah, that is a really interesting angle. I mean, don't see that every day.
Right. Like you see AI being used for all sorts of things these days,
Right.
like self-driving cars or writing marketing copy.
But Dr. Newton's out there using it to make data tables easier to understand or like automating accessibility testing.
Right.
Totally different.
The whole different ballgame.
Yeah, and I think his background is really what sets him apart too, right?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, he's a certified professional in accessibility core competencies.
CTEVAC.
CPAC, right.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, so he's got that deep knowledge to actually back up his ideas.
Yeah, which you don't always see in the AI world, which moves so fast.
Oh, for sure.
Everyone's trying to get ahead,
Exactly.
but he's really, got the credentials.
Well, and he's not just, like you said, talking about it.
Yeah.
His resume mentions he's developed 7
Seven.
bespoke applications using AI and machine learning for accessibility testing and governance.
I mean, talk about walking the walk.
It's impressive.
Yeah, really putting his money where his mouth is.
It shows real commitment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just lip service about how accessibility is important.
Right.
He's actually out there building the tools and processes to make it happen.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us to what might be his biggest contribution, I think. His focus on building accessibility into the development process right from the beginning.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Not as an afterthought, but as a core principle.
Baking it in.
Exactly, like baking it right into the
I
recipe.
like that analogy.
Not trying to patch things up later on.
Exactly.
Get it right from the start.
And he lays it all out there in his article. Accessibility Business Processes. Acts into Agile, Part 1.
Oh, yeah. Great article.
It's a practical roadmap for how to integrate accessibility into every stage of the Agile or Scrum development cycle.
Right. So he's saying, if you really want to create technology that's truly inclusive,
Mm-hmm.
you got to make accessibility everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, not just like one specialist in the corner.
Right. Exactly.
Everyone on the team needs to own it.
But doesn't that sound like a lot of extra work, though?
Right.
Like, I'm sure a lot of companies are thinking, yeah, that sounds great in theory,
Uh-huh.
but we've got deadlines to meet,
Yeah, deadlines, budget.
real-world constraints.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
valid concern for
Yeah.
sure.
So what does Dr. Newton say to that?
Well, he argues that it's actually more efficient in the long run.
Really?
Yeah, if you integrate accessibility from the start,
Okay.
you prevent all these costly fixes and redesigns later down the line.
So it's like preventing a leak in your roof
Yeah,
instead of waiting till the whole ceiling collapses.
that's a good way to put it.
Makes sense.
Catch those problems early.
So it's not just about doing the right thing ethically,
Right.
but it's also about smart development,
Right. Exactly.
building better products more efficiently.
That's the sweet spot.
And this brings us to another point that Dr. Newton really hits hard.
What's that?
The importance of process over tools.
Ah, yes. He's a big believer in that.
Now, what does he mean by that exactly?
Well, he's not saying tools are bad or anything, but he argues that relying solely on tools can actually limit our understanding of accessibility.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so let's say you're testing a simple submit button on a website.
Okay.
You want to make sure it's accessible.
Right.
Now, you could run an automated scan with a tool,
Hmm.
and that'll tell you if the button is technically accessible,
According to the guidelines.
Exactly. But it won't tell you if it's truly usable for someone with, say, motor difficulties.
Okay, so it's not just about checking boxes.
Right.
It's about understanding how real people with disabilities actually interact with technology
Exactly. You need a process in place to make sure that button is usable.
for a wide range of abilities.
Yes, and that goes beyond just whether it's technically accessible.
So that's where human judgment comes in, right?
Exactly.
Like the tool can only take you so far.
Right.
You need someone to actually think through those different scenarios.
Exactly. Dr. Newton's all about combining those automated tools with manual checks and user testing.
To get a more complete picture.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this foundation of, building accessibility in from the start.
Yeah.
having these solid processes in place. Where does AI actually fit into all of this?
That's the million-dollar question.
Well, it seems like Dr. Newton sees AI as this powerful tool
Yeah,
for both improving and automating accessibility.
I'd say that's a pretty good assessment.
Like in his article, Automating Accessibility, a development strategy for AI-enhanced data tables.
Oh, yes.
He shares some really innovative solutions for making data tables more accessible.
He does.
For example, using AI to automatically generate captions that actually accurately reflect the content and organization of the table.
And even when the table's like sorted or filtered.
Exactly. I mean, that's huge,
Huge.
especially for people who use screen readers.
Or other assistive technologies.
Right.
Yeah, to access that data.
Yeah, it's incredibly useful.
Totally. It goes beyond just captions, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's using AI to reorganize really complex data tables
Okay.
into simpler formats that are easier to understand,
Wow.
especially for people using those assistive technologies.
So it's like having an AI assistant
Mm-hmm.
that can translate complex data into plain English. Yeah.
Exactly, making it clear and understandable for everyone.
Now, this next part might surprise you.
Oh, okay, I'm intrigued.
Dr. Newton is also applying these AI principles
Uh-huh.
in a completely different field, music production.
Music production, really?
Specifically for vocal replacement.
Wow, okay, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and this is where his commitment to working within ethical boundaries really shines through.
Okay, yeah, that's an important consideration with AI,
Oh, absolutely.
especially when you're dealing with something as personal as someone's voice.
Right.
So how does he approach that ethically?
Well, in his article, Embracing Ethical AI in Music Production, a case study on vocal replacement,
I'll have to check that one out.
he outlines his process in detail and really emphasizes the importance of consent and transparency.
When working with artists' voices.
Exactly. So it's not about just grabbing someone's voice and using it without permission.
Right, right.
It's about collaborating with artists to create those AI-generated vocals in a way that respects their creative input and ownership.
So it's more like a partnership.
Exactly.
That's...
And he draws a fascinating parallel
Oh,
between AI vocal replacement
okay.
and motion capture technology in filmmaking.
Okay.
They both allow for these really creative alterations,
Right.
but they still respect that original performance.
Interesting.
He even mentions this song snippet called Mew Mew Crew Cats Be Ballin' that's somehow connected to his work.
Mew Mew Crew Cats be ballin'.
Yeah.
That's quite a title.
I know, right? It really makes you wonder what kind of creative possibilities are out there.
It does. But, you know, beyond the fun factor,
Yeah.
Dr. Newton really makes a strong case for the practical benefits of AI vocal replacement.
Such as?
Well, think about it. It can really streamline the production process,
Okay.
especially when you're working with really tight deadlines or singers who are in different parts of the world.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It can solve a lot of logistical challenges.
And he even has a sense of humor about it.
Oh, yeah.
He mentions prompting ChatGPT's automated voice to review his code.
Really?
Yeah, and to automate all kinds of administrative labor that he's trying to avoid.
So even AI needs a little help sometime.
It seems that way.
That's funny.
Yeah, and it makes this whole topic feel a little less daunting and more approachable,
Right.
which is important because ultimately Dr. Newton's message is one of empowerment.
Empowerment? How so?
Well, he believes that accessibility isn't just a technical challenge.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for innovation and creativity.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's like he's saying, let's use all the tools we have, including AI,
Right.
to build a world where everyone can participate and contribute.
Yeah. That's a world I want to be a part of, for sure.
Me too.
So where do we go from here? What other aspects of his work should we dive into?
Well, he doesn't just stop at the tech.
Oh.
He's a huge advocate for mentorship and training.
Oh, really? That's fantastic.
That really speaks to his character, I think.
It does.
He wants to empower others to carry the torch.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear more about that.
Me too.
Let's dig in.
Let's do it. Yeah, it's really inspiring to see someone like Dr. Newton not just talking the talk, but actually walking the walk.
Absolutely.
And you know what's even better? Is that he's not keeping all this knowledge to himself.
Right. He's all about sharing it.
Exactly. He's a big advocate for mentorship and training,
That's interesting.
which I think really speaks to his character.
Yeah.
Like he wants to empower others to champion accessibility.
Yeah, instead of just holding all the cards himself.
Right. Like, for example, at eBay, he completely transformed their Accessibility Champions program
Okay.
into this really robust training and mentorship initiative.
Oh, wow. So he's not just building tools and processing.
Right.
He's building a whole community.
Exactly. A community of people dedicated to making technology more inclusive.
Yeah, that's how you create lasting change.
It's powerful stuff.
It really is. And, it kind of highlights a key insight that emerges from all of Dr. Newton's work.
What's that?
Accessibility isn't just about following a checklist
Well,
or, ticking boxes.
it's about fostering a culture of awareness and understanding.
Mm-hmm. Making it part of the DNA of an organization.
And that makes me think about the work he's done on accessibility governance.
Oh, yeah, he's big on that.
He's really pushing for organizations to have clear policies and procedures in place
Yeah.
to make sure that accessibility is just baked into every aspect of how they operate.
Like it's not an afterthought.
Exactly.
That's just how things are done.
Right. And he lays it all out in his article.
Which one?
Unlocking Efficiency and Growth. My Insights on Accessibility Governance.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It covers everything.
Really?
Yeah, from establishing accessibility policies and conducting regular assessments to, fostering awareness and training across different teams.
I mean, that's a lot to cover.
It is a lot, but, it's all important stuff.
Yeah, but isn't that all a bit overwhelming for companies, though?
Right.
Especially, smaller companies or startups that might not have a ton of resources.
Yeah, where do they even begin?
It's a good question. A lot of people are probably wondering that.
What does Dr. Newton say?
Well, he actually emphasizes that accessibility governance doesn't have to be this massive bureaucratic undertaking.
Okay.
He advocates for a phased approach,
Well,
starting with small, achievable steps.
so you don't have to boil the ocean right away.
Exactly.
It's more about building a sustainable system over time
Right.
rather than trying to do everything at once.
And he makes the argument that having a strong accessibility governance program in place
Mm-hmm.
can actually lead to greater efficiency and growth for companies.
So it's not just about, doing the right thing ethically.
Right.
It's also good business sense.
Exactly. It widens your customer base.
Okay.
Reduces the risk of legal issues down the line.
Makes sense.
And I'd imagine it creates a more inclusive and welcoming work environment for employees, too.
Absolutely.
It's a win-win all around.
Yeah. And I mean, Dr. Newton's own career trajectory,
Okay.
working with companies like Salesforce, eBay, Warner Bros., Discovery, Workday.
Wow. That's an impressive list.
It is, right.
It really is.
It's a testament to the growing demand for expertise in this area.
Yeah, companies are realizing that accessibility is no longer optional.
Right.
It's a must-have.
It's like he's become this sought-after consultant,
Yeah, I can see that.
helping these tech giants navigate the complexities of accessibility in this age of AI.
And it's not just about technical expertise either, right?
Right.
He brings this unique blend of human-centered design thinking and ethical considerations to the table.
You think about the whole picture.
Exactly. And I think, looking at the scope of his work,
Yeah.
from developing these AI-powered tools to advocating for accessibility governance,
Right.
it really feels like Dr. Newton is at the forefront of a major shift in how we think about technology and inclusion.
I totally agree. It's like he's helping to usher in this new era where accessibility is no longer seen as an afterthought
Yeah.
or a compliance issue,
Right, like it's just a box to check.
but as a fundamental aspect of good design and innovation.
Yeah. It's about building things the right way from the start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, this brings us to a question that's been on my mind throughout this whole deep dive.
Okay, I'm listening.
What does Dr. Newton's work tell us about the future of accessibility?
That's a big one.
It is, right?
It is. I think, his whole career really exemplifies the fact that accessibility is rapidly becoming central to how technology is designed, developed, and deployed.
Yeah, it's no longer a niche concern.
Right. It's moving into the mainstream.
It's becoming everyone's concern.
Exactly. And AI is playing a crucial role in that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, AI has the potential to break down barriers that have long prevented people with disabilities from fully participating in the digital world.
Give me some examples.
Okay, well, think about AI seamlessly translating sign language
Wow, yeah.
or providing real-time audio descriptions for people with visual impairments or even controlling prosthetic limbs using thought alone.
That's incredible.
It's mind-blowing. It's like AI could become this bridge
Okay.
between the physical and digital worlds.
Opening up possibilities we can't even imagine right now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so exciting,
Yeah.
but also a little daunting.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, it has the potential to lead to a more inclusive society
Absolutely.
where disability is no longer seen as an obstacle to participation and contribution.
That's the dream, right? But it also raises some important questions.
Yeah, like what?
Well, how do we ensure that these advancements benefit everyone?
Right, not just a select few.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of potential disparities in access to these technologies.
Yeah, based on things like socioeconomic status or geographic location.
Exactly. We don't want to create a world where only the privileged few have access to these life-changing innovations.
That would just exacerbate the existing inequalities.
Absolutely. So it's a call to action, really.
For who?
I mean, for policymakers, researchers, tech companies,
Okay.
to work together to ensure equitable access to these transformative technologies.
Yeah, we need to be proactive in addressing these issues.
Right now, before it's too late.
Before these technologies become so ingrained in our lives that it's too difficult to course correct.
Exactly. We have to get ahead of this.
And, I think Dr. Newton's work gives us a solid framework for thinking about these challenges and working towards solutions.
Yeah, he's not just focused on the technical aspects.
Right.
He's deeply engaged with the ethical and societal implications as well.
He's thinking about the big picture.
Exactly. And it's that holistic approach that makes his work so compelling and so relevant to where we are right now.
Yeah, he's not just building better technology. He's helping us imagine a better future for everyone.
And that's what it's all about, right?
It is, and it's inspiring to see.
It really is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Dr. Newton's work, I'm left with this feeling of, cautious optimism,
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
It's exciting to think about all the possibilities AI is unlocking.
For sure.
But we also need to be really intentional about how we develop and deploy these technologies.
Absolutely. It's a balancing act.
Right, and I think that's what Dr. Newton's work really embodies.
Yeah.
That balance. He's not shying away from the potential of AI
Right.
to transform accessibility.
Totally.
But he's also sounding the alarm about, the need for careful consideration and responsible implementation.
You can't just throw technology at the problem and hope for the best.
Exactly. And that brings us back to what you were saying earlier
About
the importance of including people with disabilities in the design process.
Oh, yeah, from the very beginning.
Right. If we want to create technology that actually meets people's needs, we have to involve them from the start.
It's common sense, really.
Right. But it's so often overlooked.
It is. It's like people forget.
It's not enough to just have good intentions.
Right.
We need to actively seek out diverse perspectives.
Make sure everyone has a seat at the table.
Exactly. And that's where Dr. Newton's emphasis on accessibility governance comes in.
Oh, yeah. He's not just saying individual companies need to do better. He's calling for systemic change.
Yeah.
That prioritizes accessibility at every level.
It's about creating a culture of accessibility where it's not seen as an extra burden, but as just how we do things.
Just part of the process.
And that shift in mindset, I think, is essential.
Oh, yeah.
If we really want to realize the full potential of AI.
To create a more inclusive and equitable world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener?
That's the question, isn't it?
How can you apply these insights to your own life?
Especially if you're not a tech expert or a policymaker.
Not just an everyday person.
Well, I think the key takeaway here is that accessibility is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, we all have a role to play.
In creating a more inclusive world.
Both online and offline.
Yeah, it starts with awareness.
Right. Take the time to learn about the challenges people with disabilities face.
And how technology can be used to address those challenges.
And don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
If you see something that's not accessible, say something.
Challenge the status quo.
Advocate for change.
It's about recognizing that accessibility is not just about ramps and braille.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where everyone can participate and thrive.
And Dr. Newton's work shows us that this isn't some far-off utopian ideal.
Yeah.
It's a tangible goal.
It's achievable.
We can get there.
Through a combination of, human ingenuity, technological innovation, and a commitment to social justice.
And it's just so inspiring to see someone like Dr. Newton leading the way.
Showing us what's possible.
So if you're interested in learning more about Dr. Newton's work,
or just exploring this whole intersection of AI and accessibility,
be sure to check out the links we've provided in the show notes.
And keep asking questions,
Yeah.
Keep challenging assumptions and keep pushing for a world where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making the world a more inclusive place for all.